And welcome into another live edition of Locked On 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta. Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond on the trading block. Say what? We'll get into that and more. Also, whether or not it's a good idea to be moving on from a backup center as well as another guard on this basketball team. Talking about that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers. Your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode is brought to you by the wonderful people of FanDuel. That's right, football season is here. Eagles 1-0. Giants 0-1. Anyway, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app by going to FanDuel.com to get started. The Giants and that Cam Scatterbo, I'll tell you what, he's going to be entertaining. I'll say that much.
Yeah, he's entertaining, but Russell Wilson is
not so great. All right. The NFL throwing haymakers during their opening weekend, as one would assume. Lots of good times there in the NFL for football fans, but for basketball fans, the man that was throwing haymakers over the weekend, my friend, Jake Fischer, Bleacher Report, on his show, Bleacher Report, he was talking about the NBA, as an NBA insider does. Keith, you're well aware of this. I did not know this. We have not talked about this. Have you known Kelly Oubre and Andre Drummond both on the trading block, and it may be an effort to increase money to pay Quentin Grimes? That was kind of the connection being made. Jake Fischer saying throughout this offseason, they've been talking about shopping, seeing if there's interest in possibly moving on from both Drummond and Oubre. What do you make of that report from Jake Fischer?
You know, it's weird because, I mean, if you heard beforehand, like at the trade deadline beforehand, that, you know, these were two guys who possibly could be moved, two guys that probably would have been moved or, you know, in free agency, and, you know, two guys that basically, you know, probably would have parted ways with or traded if they didn't both have player options, right? So they were stuck. But here's the problem with all that, to me, is like, what are you going to get for them? You know, like, I mean, yeah, like what are you going to get for them? You know, the reason why both of them picked up their options is because there was nothing out there in free agency, right? That you know, that's just one thing. Now, to me, what do you want to do? So you're talking about you want to get more money for Quentin Grimes. But you also say that you want to run this thing back and you're confident. And the only reason why this team was struggled last year is because of injuries. Well, you need a change of pace center, or you need a backup center for Embiid and a change of pace. Well, right now you have that. If you really wanted to get rid of Andre Drummond and you wanted to trade him, then maybe you should have drafted a center early in the second round. There was several legitimate ones available. Then let's go to Kelly Oubre. So Kelly Oubre, 2 years ago, we were saying that he was the third option replacing Tobias Harris. Everyone said that. Kelly Oubre is a guy at this particular time. He is, you know, you might say that he's a little bit better than VJ Edgecombe at this time, just because he's older, more experienced, you know, 6'7", 200 and something pounds. He can do what you want. So to me, to tell me that you are willing to get rid of both of those guys just so you can get more money for Quentin Grimes, or for whatever reason, it's telling me that, A, maybe you don't think you have a chance of winning, right? And let's start over. And B, it's like, okay, we're going to get rid of our backup center, and we're going to get rid of like an interchangeable guy who can play 4 positions or 3 positions, to 2 to 3 to 4, just to add another guard. Like, it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Now, in regards to shopping them, is even though there wasn't anything out there for them in the free agency market, they are probably the only 2 guys who have trade value right now that you want to get rid of. The other three guys who have trade value, I would think of is VJ Edgecombe. You're not trading him. You just got him. Jared McCain, you're not trading him. And Tyrese Maxey, they do not want to trade him. So, of course, you're trying to see what's out there at the same time. But please, if you really want to win, are you going to get rid of your backup center and the one guy, the only guy that you have who can play three positions and make an impact without any plays being called? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And here's why I think this is a really dumb idea. Are we unaware? Is there another story out there? I don't know. Maybe you've done some digging on this. I don't know. Is Joel Embiid all of a sudden 100% healthy? Is he going to play 82 games this year? Did I miss something here over the weekend? I know I was watching football and baseball actually all day Sunday, but did I miss a story? Is Joel Embiid all good now? Is everything fine there? Is Paul George A-OK 100%? Did he not have offseason surgery to have that knee cleaned out? Did Janai Broom really impress that much in Summer League? Did Adem Bona blow everybody away to the point where you're like, hey, you know what? You don't need another center because you got to get Adem Bona can play 40 minutes a game. I don't think I missed anything on that, Keith. So getting rid of Andre Drummond seems really dumb. Not a good idea. Now, I would like to see those other players I mentioned grow, and I would certainly like to see Joel Embiid be healthy, but I'm not betting on that for this year. I'll root for it. I'll hope for it, but I'm not betting on it. As far as Kelly Oubre goes, I know everyone wants to jump to this and say, oh, you got so many guards. Oubre is expendable. As you pointed out, 3 positions he can play pretty well. And all of those positions, he doesn't have to be, the star of the show, the dominant guy. He's well aware that he is a supporting character to the main characters on this team, even when maybe 2 of those guys aren't healthy. I just find this to be excuse me, ridiculous, in all honesty. As you pointed out, of the guys that you could trade, yeah, these are the 2 most attractive names probably because people know what Andre Drummond is. You want to come off the bench. You want him to maybe get a couple of starts under his belt for any other team. He's going to get you rebounds. He's going to get you putbacks. He's that guy. So I could see why another team would want him. Oubre, again, the versatility that you like here in Philadelphia, he could do for other teams as well. And he knows his role. He knows his status. The thing I always say about Kelly Oubre is that he seems to really know when to pick his spots to be the guy to score. If he sees somebody else lagging, if he sees somebody getting tired, if he's coming on with the second unit even, he knows how to pick his spots to give you that spurt, that 8-10 points all of a sudden, where you'll look on the stat sheet after the game and you'll see, oh, he only had 12 points, but 8 of those points came during a lull in the third quarter when nobody else was scoring. Stuff like that he does. He's a really good spark plug player aside from his versatility, but his versatility is what helps him provide that spark. Look, if the Sixers are truly committed to the idea that Joel Embiid and Paul George are going to give you enough to really help you compete this year, then I'm not getting worse by trading your backup center, who even in the most optimistic world is still probably going to end up playing significant minutes for you this year, given the status of Joel Embiid. And the only other guy you can rely on right now is Adem Bona, who's also young, and I consider an up-and-comer, but not a right-now player. Oubre, you got a lot of guards, but you don't have a lot of people that can play that 4 spot, that 3 spot, and even that 2 spot on this lineup. So this roster. So look, I get the idea of just seeing what's out there. I get the idea of trying. But much like the idea that you've pointed out many times at the draft, they might want to package a 3 with Paul George to try to move on from that contract, but it ain't happening. It wasn't happening. So this I look at as, okay, go ahead and kick the tires, but I'd very much like it if when the season opens, those 2 guys are still on the roster.
Yeah, and here's the thing, my whole thing is, what it's doing is if you do that, if you trade him and you basically saying, hey, we're going to give this money to Quentin Grimes, right? Quentin Grimes has to know what he's getting himself into. Because, the thing is, I'm looking at it like, okay, so you better hope that VJ Edgecombe or Quentin, one of them can move off the ball. And you better hope that this 3-guard offense is going to work down the road, right? It's going to work. You're going to hope and pray that Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe and Quentin Grimes can work. Because if not, Quentin Grimes is going to realize it's going to be another Tobias Harris situation where fans are going to be like, yo, we waited for him for this and that. Now, if you tell me, I'm going to be honest now, if you tell me, okay, well, we're trying to trade Kelly Oubre because we're trying to get some money for Jonathan Kuminga or something like that, right? Even though Golden State's going to match it, then I'm going to listen to you. Because when we look at Kelly Oubre, 6'7", 205 pounds, Jonathan Kuminga, 6'8", 210. Kuminga can play both forward positions, right? You know what I'm saying? To me, that's something different than just adding another guard, because Kuminga, it would be, in my opinion, probably an upgrade over Kelly Oubre, whereas him and Grimes are different types of players. So it's completely different, and you got to be careful. Like, well, what do you want? Now, here's the thing about the 76ers, too. Since Daryl Morey has been here, they've always been shopping people. They always been in the news for shopping people. You know what I mean? It's like every trade deadline, every off season, whenever such and such is being shopped, they're shopping them. It's probably time to turn the page and let's try to get out of the second round. Like, you know what I mean? It's just it's one of those things. Like, we're in, there's so much roster reconstructions and not reconstructions because you kept Embiid, but it's just so many different changes of the role players. This is just getting not ridiculous, but like we both said before, what do you want? Do you want to win? You know what I mean? Like, if you wanted to get rid of him, you should have got a new center. You know what I mean? Like think about it. You got rid of Yabusele, right? And then so you drafted a guy to be Janai Broome to be a power forward / center. Well, maybe you should have kept Yabusele and picked up a center. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me right now. It doesn't make sense.
I want to address this right here because I know there's people that think this now. That's a lovely avatar, by the way. GSC or profile pic, whatever. Oubre stinks, guys. He will never be a real rotational player on an actual contending team. Too low an IQ of a player. I think he could be immature at times. I know a lot of people made a huge deal out of Joel Embiid, calling him out for not hustling back on defense against the Bucks. I always forget who it was against. But I think he is a perfect fit for this Philadelphia 76ers team. I mean, speaking elsewhere, I don't know, but right here, I think he's a perfect fit for this team. Do you think Kelly Oubre stinks, Keith?
No, I don't think he stinks. We're talking about a guy who has a career average of 13.3 points. And, people forget, Kelly Oubre, when he played in Golden State for a year. The guy averaged 30 minutes. He was playing he started in 55 of 50 games. Here's the thing. And then Kelly Oubre, people forget, two of his best seasons came when he was with the Phoenix Suns. Now, granted, the Phoenix Suns were young. It was him and Devin Booker. They really didn't get along. They had to get rid of one. So Kelly was the guy they got rid of. He averaged 16.9 points that year, 18.7 the following season. He was 23, 24 at the time. He's still only 29 years old. I think, Kelly is going to be fine. Now we're not talking about saying, okay, Kelly Oubre, we want you to be the second option. Okay, Kelly Oubre, we want you to be the third option. No, what we're saying is the 76ers should look at Kelly Oubre as a guy who can play versatile roles, right? Now, again, if the season is a wash and they know they're going to struggle and whatnot, I'm talking about after they get this whole thing started. Yeah, I can see moving both of these guys at the trade deadline, right? Because they probably won't come back next season. But right now, when you're saying that, you want everybody to be confident in what you have and saying that we're trying to win, you're going to get rid of your two best role players at this particular time, So, I don't know. We know what Kelly Oubre can do when the big three are on the floor. We do not know what Quentin Grimes can do with the big three on the floor.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. All right, when we come back, another interesting thing. I had not heard this, but apparently Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are cool now. We'll get to that and more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back after this. Let me tell you right now about FanDuel and all they got going on. NFL season is upon us, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for each and every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. I love using FanDuel for when it comes to same-game parlays, when it comes to live betting, all of it right there on FanDuel. So make sure you check out all they have to offer. It's quick. It's easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more energy, a little bit more excitement to your game days. Makes every game more exciting, as a matter of fact. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet, and if it hits, $300 in bonus bets to use across the app at FanDuel.com. So as I'm, scouring the internet, of course, looking for some things about the Sixers here, I come across the story of Ben Simmons. This is also from Jake Fischer. Ben Simmons is no longer with his agent. His agent actually saying, I'm good. I'm no longer going to represent Ben Simmons. Interesting on the heels of the story that came out of the New York Post last week, Keith, that you were talking about, where Ben Simmons apparently has two teams. One is the New York Knicks. The other is a mystery team, Keith, that are supposedly interested in his services. So with that being said, he's saying, Knicks, mystery team, retirement? In all of this, apparently when the Nets bought Ben Simmons out, according to Jake Fischer, when the Nets bought Ben Simmons out, there were overtures, was the word he used, overtures of a potential reunion with the 76ers. As of right now, he does not see the Sixers as being the other mystery team aside from the New York Knicks. With all this information floating out there now, Keith, what do you make of it as far as Ben Simmons ever returning to the 76ers?
It's weird. I when you look at it, I don't see it happening. Just because there was a lot of bad blood. How do the people in Philadelphia go from, you love Ben Simmons and then you're disappointed by Ben Simmons. You think he's a child. Then you start hating Ben Simmons. Well, okay, he's back with us again. So let's love him again. Oh, well, yeah, I said some things about the 76ers organization and, I dogged it in practice and I did a lot of things. I wanted out. Okay. Let's come back. Let's come back. And then also you're also coming back to what they want you to play power forward. You're going to be the point forward. Like what's going to happen? Like, I just don't think that it sounds like desperation in my opinion. It sounds like
from Ben Simmons or if
it would be desperation. If he came back here, it's basically to the point of saying, I couldn't make it anywhere else. I might as well go back there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, one of those, well, you always thought the grass was greener, but now it's not, right? He did have his best years as a 76er. But at the same time, I would wish him well elsewhere if I was the 76ers. I just would wish him well elsewhere. Go ahead.
Here's where I'm at with this whole thing, and we've talked about this for off and on for a couple of weeks now because there's been little nuggets of information dropping out about Ben Simmons. I'm good. I remember the Ben Simmons that played here in Philadelphia. He ain't that guy anymore. I have zero confidence that he could come back and be the 3-time All-Star he was here in Philadelphia, and that's even taken with the idea of he's not going to shoot like that. Fine, I believe his speed is gone. I believe watching him last year, he just didn't look like the same player. I remember one particular instance, and I would keep tabs on him, especially when he was out there in LA, because my thought was when he was with the Clippers, like he wanted to be in LA, he wanted to be in the limelight. Not that the Clippers necessarily the limelight in Los Angeles, but being in LA is a big deal to him. So he's in LA. How's he going to do? I was watching him. still the same guy in terms of mentality, but in terms of athleticism and speed, it wasn't there. And I even remember after I watched a couple of games, I was like, all right, whatever. And then maybe a month or so later, there was a headline about Ben Simmons looks like old self. And I was like, oh, what did I miss? And I went and I watched it, and he had like a basket. He made like a basket, had one good push, rebound and go, rebound and push, instant break type of thing. But it still didn't look like the guy that I saw in Philadelphia. The back issue, I think, is taking its toll on even a younger player that did play the game hard when it came to the defensive side of things. I just don't think he's that guy. So even if you take away his time with the Sixers and he's just some guy floating around in free agency and you're like, hey, what do you think of this guy? I'd look at him and be like, I don't know. I think this guy's cooked. And evidence to that is that the Knicks want him on a very low deal, like what, $3.5 million. And
they
then
want him to try out for the team. It's not even
right.
It's like a roster. It's like a training camp invite.
Right. That's the best. And a quote unquote mystery team. Like the guy's cooked, man. I think we have enough problems in Philadelphia following Joel Embiid and his injury problems, Paul George and his injury issues, and then all the injury issues of last year. I'm good on even rolling the dice on somebody that for some people, few, but I believe some people would feel like a really good reunion and second chance. And then I'm good on just adding another player that I believe does not have it anymore physically. And even when he was 100%, Keith, as I said last week, when we went through this whole thing in the report from the New York Post, I never thought he wanted it. I never thought he wanted it bad enough. I thought he wanted the big bag of the rookie extension, the $172 million, and then $203.5 million he's made in his career. I think he's good. I think he's done, and I think he's going to move on from the NBA.
Yeah, and this is what I have to say, Mark. Let's look at this. So you have Ben Simmons. You know, you think that he's the problem. So you're trying to get rid of him. So that whole season was like a joke. Now, first of all, you were trying to trade him a year before for James Harden. It didn't work out. You just didn't do it. James Harden goes to Brooklyn. The following season, we go through all this drama. You know, you're linked to all these different trades. You know, you're turning down everything for Ben. You get Harden. Harden doesn't work out. So next thing you know, you trade James Harden to the Clippers, right? Then all of a sudden, a year later, you take in the guys you traded them for, you basically traded away after you traded James Harden to the Clippers. You traded these guys away. So then you go get Paul George. That's another failed thing so far. And you trying to tell me the answer now is bringing Ben back so he can help out a little bit, and people think he can help this roster. So it's like, what happened? You mean to tell me you turned down all these people and just for the end of the day to bring Ben Simmons back? And like you said, he's not the same player. He's not. Like, if people think that they're going to see Ben Simmons running down the floor playing point guard like they were before, it's not happening. And I love Ben, but there's a reason why there's really not a market for him right now. And for me, for him to come back to the Sixers, it says a lot about the state of where he is and also the state of where the 76ers are. You mean you got overload at point guards, an overload, right? But Kyle Lowry can't play, right? I mean, not play, but he's older. So you're going to bring Ben back in here and do something? It just seems that it's crazy. And I get it. People say second chance, second this and that. But come on. This is where the 76ers are. And the other team that people were talking about were the Boston Celtics, right? And now they're saying possibly the Sixers. It just seems like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me, man. Just really weird. Like, it just seems weird. Like they're going backwards.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing is, I'm aware of Ben Simmons making the comments about how he didn't appreciate the Philadelphia fan base when he was here. And that doesn't go, that doesn't fall on deaf ears. I appreciate that. Thank you for acknowledging that, Ben Simmons. But I think you just take away the history here. And even if you take away Doc Rivers not being here anymore, and he's the one that said that he doesn't know about Ben Simmons as a point guard, and Joel Embiid literally calling out Ben Simmons' mistake as the moment they lost the game, which I totally agree with, by the way, against the Hawks in that Game 7. even take all that history away. Just his name is, John Doe. And I watch him, I'm just like, oh, I realize what he was, but he ain't that now. Yeah, I think we have enough injuries to follow. And unfortunately, I believe enough very hollow, I'll call it hollow hope when it comes to the 76ers and the crossing of the fingers that has to happen when it comes to Joel Embiid and Paul George and what else you got in this roster. So I'm good. Hard pass, as the kids say. Hard pass. When we come back, we'll take a couple more comments and also maybe a little bit of a movement, little movement, Keith, in Grimes' watch, maybe. At least not with him personally, but elsewhere. We'll talk about that when we return after this quick stoppage on Locked On 76ers. So apparently the thing here, Keith, is the offer from the Chicago Bulls has been upped a wee bit when it comes to Josh Giddey. Does that do anything for Quentin Grimes? Does that move anything for Quentin Grimes? And still the Warriors very intent on Kuminga. The Bulls basically telling everyone else, yeah, don't even try. We're going to match it. And now the trickle-down effect of the 76ers. Does it move the needle at all that the Bulls are saying, all right, fine, even more for Josh Giddey?
Well, the interesting thing is that, you're hearing this stuff about Josh Giddey coming out and they up the offer. So maybe, and then you hear, the report that the 76ers are, shopping Drummond and shopping Kelly Oubre. So basically, maybe they are trying to get closer to the monetary figure that they want to get for that Quentin Grimes wants to have. So it could be something, right? It could be. But I still think, why can't you sign him? Like, you already got rid of someone. You got rid of Gershon Yabusele because you felt like you needed to save money for Quentin. Well, you didn't. Nobody broke the bank this offseason that you picked up. So the money that you have should be enough. Or, guess what? You got his bird rights. Do what you got to do, right? Do what you got to do. So I don't know. I do think that something will happen just by all this stuff, these tea leaves, so to speak. But yeah, I think we should see something. What training camp is going to be in a couple weeks.
Yep.
I would be shocked if he's not here by the start of media day and training camp.
They go to Abu Dhabi on what, the 26th, 27th?
Yeah, I believe they're going to fly there on the 28th. On the 28th.
Oh, okay, a little later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one day later. Yeah.
What did we say that flight was? Like 12 hours?
Yeah, it's like 12.
Longer than that, maybe. Damn, son. Oh, I'm sorry, I buried the lead. Hey, did the Sixers sign Quentin Grimes yet?
Nah. Not yet.
All right, we'll continue to follow all this. Also, I was unaware of this. I didn't see this email, but the Sixers are celebrating 25 years since they made it to the NBA Finals. Also, the last time they made it out of the second round of the playoffs.
That's crazy, right?
That's not exactly something I would spike the proverbial football to. That more or less highlights the last 25 years of not making it, let alone winning a championship, we could definitely highlight some of the great moments since then. My brother has a wonderful saying when it comes to Philadelphia sports, especially leading up to the Phillies winning the World Series, which is the first championship really of my lifetime, which is great moments in Philadelphia sports history, followed by horrible disappointments, which is kind of what the Sixers remind me of right now. So credit to my brother Michael on that one. Let's take a comment in here. First and foremost, Win Forever says, "We live, baby. We live." Hell yeah. He also says, "I like Ben on this roster. We got a young heart and shooters." Still don't like him on the roster. And then Reggie says, "No way, not going to happen, just content." Well, it's not just there's conversation out there right now about Ben Simmons and a mystery team. And then Jake Fischer saying that, there were overtures about the Sixers and Ben Simmons possibly reuniting. Him and Joel Embiid apparently are cool now. They've patched things up. I still don't see it happening. And then I think our man GSC responded back to the Oubre comment. You're mentioning his stats. They're empty stats. His teams never win. no idea how to pass and falls asleep on defense all the time. Can't shoot at all. I disagree. He's a 9th or 10th man, totally expendable. Again, on this roster, I don't see it. If you're talking about a broad brush in the NBA, yeah. On this Sixers team, I still love having him on this roster.
Okay, so name me one player on this team, excluding now Maxey played on a pretty good team, a couple of them, but they didn't go far. Embiid, but his numbers are worse in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. The only one who's a real winner, who won a championship, I shouldn't say a real winner, but won a championship, was Kyle Lowry. You can make that argument about a lot of people. I mean, you can make that same argument about Jabari Walker, who they just picked up.
Yeah.
About Trendon Watford, who they picked up. He played with the Brooklyn Nets and the Portland Trail Blazers. You can make the same argument about last year, Quentin Grimes, when everybody was going crazy over Quentin Grimes playing in the equivalent of G League games. All we're saying is that when you look at Kelly Oubre at 6'7" or 6'8", 205 pounds, and that athleticism, that he can play multiple positions. He does not need the ball. He's a guy that can do things. Now, the only other person who's similar to as versatile as him is Justin Edwards. But Justin Edwards is not on his level right now. So do you get rid of him and then you got to deal with Justin Edwards? Because what it seems like to me is if they're trying to trade these two guys, they're doing it to stash salary. So what they're trying to do is probably get someone who they can take in and waive, someone with an expiring contract that they can just cut them and it's off the books, or, someone, a non-guarantee contract, and get draft picks. So to me, when we talk about this, Kelly Oubre, getting rid of him, do you have 100% confidence right now that Justin Edwards could fulfill his shoes?
Nope.
Nah.
Nope.
So that's what it is. We can talk about empty stats. We can talk about this and that, but just name 4 players on this team who have great stats.
I agree with that. And I also, I say quite the opposite. I mean, I look at, 12 points a game, for instance. That ain't a brag.
Yeah.
12 points a game is not stuff in the stat sheet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not padded stats.
Yeah.
I remain president of the not well-populated Kelly Oubre fan club. Keith, a pleasure as always, my friend. We're breaking it down further tomorrow, especially, and we will highlight the idea of 25 years. Damn it, of the Philadelphia.
And look, and they didn't even win a chip. Like it's 25 years that they won the Eastern Conference title.
I always tell you this. Yeah. I always tell you this. It's very sobering. Not sobering. I don't know what the right word would be. Humble. I don't know. I was literally born the year they started their championship season. So for my life, they've been a non-championship team, as terrible as that is to admit. His name is Keith Pompey. Make sure you guys are reading him on Inquirer.com. Make sure you guys are following across all social media platforms. My name is Marc Farzetta. You guys can catch me tonight on Locked On Phillies postcast. After the Phillies and Mets start their 4-game series in South Philly, we're also waiting with bated breath to hear the news about Trey Turner. We'll get to that tonight on Locked On Phillies postcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And oh boy, I can't forget this, Keith. Locked On NBA Top 100 is here. Voted on by NBA hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by all the experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on the Locked On Sports Today YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss our reaction, by the way, to where Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey rank on the top 100. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for real quick.
Oh, go for it.
And listen to Marc talk about the Phillies Karen tonight, too.
That's my ball. That's my ball. Here's the rules for any NBA fan that's not at all a Sixers, or excuse me, not at all a baseball fan. If you happen to go to a game, all right, there's people out there that I just like the Sixers and the Eagles, but if you find your place at a Phillies game, whatever, and a ball goes into the stands, home run, foul ball, that ain't your ball unless you have it in your grasp and continue to maintain possession. You can't drop it and let it hit the ground. Then it's still everybody's ball. That ball's live, man. So credit to the dad for hustling over there. I can't say I'd handle the situation exactly as he did, but I didn't stare and look in that woman's eyes. Probably crazy eyes. But he just chose to give the woman the ball, and that was that. And then the kid still made out. He got a bat from Harrison Bader. He got a gift bag of Phillies merchandise from the Marlins. Good hustle of the Marlins. Keith, you've struck a chord with me now. The show's supposed to be over. I could go on for another hour now just on that. No. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta, like and subscribe. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow to break it down further when it comes to your 10-9-8 76ers. Catch you guys then. Bye.